The year is now, the world is familiar, the hook. Imagine a single moment, a temporal singularity unseen by instruments. It was not an explosion, nor a sudden revelation of light. It was a subtle shift in the fundamental constant of being. The universe quite suddenly gained a new parameter. We call this event the Great Permeation. Before this moment, consciousness was assumed to be entirely emergent. It arose solely from complex biological machinery. After the permeation, this assumption proved catastrophically incomplete. Souls, for lack of a better term, became physically interactive. They were never truly non-physical. They were merely non-interactive with baryonic matter. Now, the barrier dissolved, like ice meeting unexpected warmth. The barrier between mind substance and physical substance vanished entirely. Every living being, every complex organism possessed an adjacent energy signature. This signature, the soul, suddenly possessed tangible mass and volume. This is not metaphorical. This is measurable physics, albeit new physics. The first ripples. The first consequences were entirely localized, deeply personal events. Consider a sleeping human, completely unaware of the ontological breach. Their soul, previously occupying a zero-dimensional point of awareness, now expanded. This expansion was minimal at first, perhaps a few cubic centimeters of non-baryonic field. However, this expansion displaced existing matter within the skull. The brain tissue occupying that newly claimed volume was suddenly compressed. Millions experienced instant catastrophic intracranial hemorrhaging. The immediate death rate globally was staggering, a silent internal implosion. It happened faster than any diagnostic system could register the anomaly. Think of the sheer volume of consciousness present on Earth right now. Each human, each animal, each complex insect carried this latent field. The combined mass shift, though minuscule per unit, became planetary. In the first hour, gravity readings worldwide flickered, then stabilized strangely. The Earth's mass remained constant, yet its gravitational profile momentarily warped. This suggests the soul energy possessed negative inertial properties upon interaction. It pushed matter away slightly, causing microseismic activity globally. Cities reported faint, persistent humming sounds, a low-frequency resonance. This sound was the collective vibrational frequency of billions of newly materialized minds. Birds fell from the sky, not from lack of air, but from sudden, incomprehensible internal pressure. Their tiny, dense neural structures could not accommodate the soul's physical boundary. The first day. By the end of the first 24 hours, society fractured along physical lines. Airplanes dropped as pilots suffered instantaneous, fatal cerebral disruptions. The energy released during these sudden deaths was significant, minor plasma bursts. These bursts were often mistaken for conventional engine failure or solar flare interference. Vehicular accidents spiked exponentially, creating chaotic ground zero zones. Those who survived the initial internal restructuring found themselves profoundly altered. The sensation of having an extra layer to reality became overwhelming sensory input. Imagine feeling the texture of your own awareness pressing against your temporal lobe. For the survivors, introspection became a physical burden, a constant, dull ache. Plants also experienced the permeation, though their distributed consciousness handled it better. Trees developed faint, visible auras, shimmering outlines slightly larger than the wood itself. These auras interacted poorly with ambient light, creating perpetual, dim halos. Water bodies responded with curious surface tension anomalies. Lakes exhibited localized, unnaturally smooth patches where aggregated life forms were present. Technology based on complex computation began failing intermittently. Quantum processors, relying on precise field alignment, suffered near total decoherence. The presence of massive organized psychic fields disrupted superconducting pathways. Even simple radio waves exhibited strange phase shifts near densely populated areas. The electrical grid wavered, not from lack of power, but from subtle energetic interference. The world entered a state of profound, unsettling quiet, punctuated by mechanical failures, systemic collapse. The breakdown was not societal initially, it was fundamentally thermodynamic. The interaction of soul stuff and atomic structure introduced entropic noise. Standard combustion engines sputtered and died as the internal flame geometry became unstable. The flame front, a beautiful cascade of chemical reaction, was now intersected by awareness fields. The chemical bonds momentarily struggled against immaterial pressure. Transportation ceased within 3 days. Global supply chains became relics of a prior age. Governments attempted to coordinate, but communication infrastructure was unreliable. Satellite uplinks suffered constant, random signal dropouts due to atmospheric psychic density. Weather patterns became erratic, displaying non-deterministic behavior. Storm systems seemed to pause, hovering unusually long over populated centers. This was interpreted by some as collective psychic distress influencing atmospheric dynamics. Science struggled to categorize this new interaction vector. It seemed the soul possessed a localized gravitational influence, but only when in proximity to biological carbon. It was a form of biological specific gravity, a field effect rooted in identity. Materials engineering faced an impossible hurdle. Concrete integrity wavered near large groups of people. The atomic lattice seemed to subtly repel itself where intense thought occurred nearby. This created areas where structural stability was dangerously low, localized soft spots in the infrastructure. Nature, however, adapted with startling speed. Predator-prey dynamics shifted entirely, based on the perceived intensity of the prey's awareness. A deer frozen in terror broadcasted an almost blinding energetic signature. This signature attracted predators who hunted by this new sense, ignoring scent or sound. The silence of the night was replaced by the visual manifestation of fear. The human perspective. For the individual survivor, the world became unbearably intimate. Imagine walking through a marketplace, now a graveyard of failed electronics. You do not just see the person standing beside you. You feel the subtle energetic boundary where their self ends and the air begins. It is like perpetually standing in a room where everyone wears a vibrating aura. Sleep became nearly impossible for many. The merging of the resting ego with the expanded soul field induced vivid, inescapable hallucinations. These were not dreams, but shared sensory experiences with one's own subconscious projection. People began to seek isolation, not for safety, but for acoustic relief from internal noise. Communities retreated to sparsely populated zones, preferring the open emptiness. In these empty spaces, the soul could expand without impinging on another space. Communication reverted to extremely formalized, minimal language. Unnecessary speech was seen as aggressive boundary violation. To speak loudly was to physically shove your identity into another person's sensory field. Love and empathy took on terrifying new dimensions. Intimate contact was no longer just skin on skin. It was the momentary, complete overlapping of two distinct awareness envelopes. This level of merging was often agonizing, a brief, overwhelming loss of self. Yet, it was also the only way to truly connect in this new, physically dense reality. Art became purely tactile, focused on materials that absorbed or filtered psychic vibration. Sculptures made of dense, ancient volcanic glass became highly prized. They acted as passive dampeners, creating pockets of relative mental silence. Food became simple, requiring minimal cooking, avoiding the thermodynamic instability of flames. Root vegetables and cold preparations became the staple of the new diet. The constant awareness of one's own physical confinement, the realization of the soul as a tangible, albeit strange, container was existentially exhausting. The long view. Zooming out from the individual's psychic discomfort reveals a cosmic recontextualization. If souls possess physical properties, then they must adhere to conservation laws. The total sum of awareness energy in the cosmos remains static, a universal constant. This implies that consciousness is not generated by local biology, but merely channeled through it. The Earth, then, is a vast, complex bioantenna, currently tuning to a universal broadcast. This perspective suggests that death is simply the decoupling of the localized receiver. The physical footprint of the soul dissipates back into the universal substrate of awareness. The old stars, the distant nebulae, are now being observed by trillions of nascent, expanding soul fields. We are no longer observers of a cold, indifferent universe. We are now participants in a universe that is actively aware of us because we are physically part of its awareness matrix. Planetary science transforms into cosmopsychology. The gravitational anomalies noted on day 1 might suggest that life creates an ambient, low-level repulsive field against inert matter. Life, in essence, pushes back against the dead vacuum of space. Evolutionary pressures will favor organisms whose souls interact with minimal friction. We might see the rise of organisms that communicate through highly structured, non-invasive energy emissions. The next stage of human evolution may involve consciously regulating the soul's boundary layer. We might learn to filter our internal landscape, presenting only acceptable vibrational profiles to others. Societies could reorganize around psychic hygiene rather than material wealth or territory. The ultimate question becomes, is this physical manifestation a universal constant for all complex life? If so, the galaxy is not filled with silent bodies, but with a vast, echoing symphony of interacting, tangible minds. Our universe is not just space and time, but space, time, and an ever-present measurable self-conclusion. The Great Permeation stripped away the comfortable illusion of separation. We discovered that the boundary between the internal and the external was merely a temporary state of low-energy interaction. Now, every thought, every flicker of anxiety or joy exerts a measurable physical pressure. This changes everything, yet it changes nothing fundamental about existence itself. The sun still rises, albeit with a slightly hazy halo around its corona. Gravity still dictates the orbit, even if the mass experiencing it has gained a spectral twin. We are forced to confront the physicality of our own interiority. This overwhelming intimacy with reality is terrifying, a constant existential pressure. However, within this pressure lies profound freedom. If the soul is physically real, then the pursuit of meaning is not a philosophical exercise. It is a necessary calibration of our physical interaction with the cosmos. We are bound now, not just by the laws of motion, but by the laws of empathy. The universe remains indifferent to our struggles, but we are no longer indifferent to each other's existence. We must learn to coexist in the shared, crowded field of being. The silence is gone, replaced by the vast, undeniable noise of selfhood. And in that noise, perhaps, we finally find the raw material for genuine understanding.